Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So we are going to be doing a little eye tutorial using the beloved Jaclyn Hill palette. This is actually something that's been pretty widely requested on my channel, sprinkled throughout the 60-some videos that I have uploaded thus far. So I figured I would sit down and film a beginner-friendly eye makeup tutorial using the Jaclyn Hill palette. Now the look that I'm going to be creating for you is my favorite look to create in this palette. It is by no means something crazy, hard to achieve. I'm not really delving into any of the crazy colors just yet. It's just a very beautiful, everyday, neutral eye look that could transition from day into night. So this is appropriate even for, you know, your day in the office or just a little bit of weekend glam, you're going out with the girls, whatever the case may be, and it's just a beautiful, achievable look that really anyone can follow along with. It's by no means anything that's just only for beginners, but it is very beginner friendly. I do want this to be geared towards someone who might not be super familiar with makeup. What I will do is I will end up zooming you guys in. I will do one eye so you can follow along, go off camera, and then I will come back with the finished look. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, let's just go ahead and just delve into some brushes. What I always suggest having is a fluffy crease brush like this, or a fluffy blending brush. This is the Golden Triangle line from Bdellium Tools. This is the 785 tapered blending brush. I suggest having a classic shader brush like this. I have a couple of them in front of me. I have one from Bdellium Tools. This one is a little bit larger, you can see, or you can go with this one from Lamora. Now this brush set is actually really inexpensive. You can get this on Amazon. I'm not going to cover brushes too much here, but I will link those down below in case you are interested in picking those up. You do want a couple of smaller blending brushes so you can get into the crease. Again, I have two different options here. Again, Golden Triangle. This is a 783 small tapered blending brush, and this is the Lamora blending brush. So here's what those two look like. You might want something to use on, to line the eyes. So this is just like a liner or a brow brush. This is from Bdellium Tools. This is their 760 liner brush. And then of course, depending on, what kind of a highlight you want in the inner corner, I recommend this brush. Again, this is from the Lamora set. This is a detailed pencil brush. You can apply these shadows however you want. This is just what I suggest. If you're a beginner or you want to start diving into brushes, having some of these in your collection is very beneficial. So here we're using the Jaclyn Hill palette. I don't have the names of the shadows in front of me at all. The names are not on my palette. I know that some of the palettes that were purchased and put in through Ulta have the names of the shadows. So if you have that, I primarily will be holding it up and then pointing to the shadow. My lids are primed with some concealer and setting powder. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dip into my Bdellium Tools. This is my large shader brush, or I call it a fluffy crease brush. I'm going to start out by dipping into this shade here. I'm going to dip my brush into that, tapping off the excess. Now these shades are very pigmented. You do not need a lot of product on there at all. You are better off picking up just a bit of product and, building up as you go. So I'm going to take my brush. If you have hooded eyes, this is kind of an imperative tip. Angle your brush this way, and you want to start off holding your brush more on the outside, and just with a light hand start working this shade into the crease. So this is just going to lay down what is a transition shade. The reason why I like this is it gives just a little bit of color into the crease, but it also lays down a nice amount of color for other shades to blend into. That's why it's important to start with a shade like this one, is because you don't want to lay down something that other shades will end up blending in looking muddy. Now, as you can see, I start off in the center and bring it just outside of my eye. You kind of want to imagine where your eyebrow ends and where this part of your eye goes upward, almost like picturing, like I like to say, like a cat eye almost, but the natural angle of your eye, if that makes sense. And just work that shadow in with a light hand. We want something looking diffused and almost ombre. We don't want a streak of color. If you go in too hard, you're gonna end up with harsh lines and you won't look blended. And there you go. So as you can see, this eye looks nice and contoured. We have a nice base down. So now let's go ahead and start to work into the color. So like I said, this is going to be a very neutral, everyday achievable look. The next shade I want to go into actually is the shade right next to it. Now I know these look very similar, but this shade is just ever so much darker that it will start to go ahead and actually start to really define that crease. I'm going to stick with the same brush for now. Now this time I want to keep it a little bit tighter and not fluff it out so much. I want to keep it more into the crease. So I'm gonna press a little bit harder and keep it closer to the crease, even more like a windshield wiping motion. I just wanna deepen that up just a little bit. All right, so now that we have our crease built up, let's go ahead and work on this outer corner here. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into a tighter crease brush here. As you can see, this one is just a little bit smaller. This is even called a small tapered brush. I'm gonna go ahead and now I'm going to dip into this shade here. I'm gonna start on the outer part, still in my crease, but I'm gonna drag it outwards here. So middle out, middle out. I wanna focus there, and then rolling my brush very close to the outer corner of my eye. So as you can see, we've deepened it out, but we focused on the outer part of the eye. So in the center of the crease, rolling outwards, and then rolling the brush right when you get out to the outer corner of your eye. Now I'm gonna dip in with, this is a blending brush. This is from Lamora. I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm going to dip into this richer, let's make sure I'm going to the right one, this richer chocolate, more dark brown shade here. I'm gonna dip with my brush in this way, just getting it on the very outside of the brush. I'm gonna go ahead and lay that on the outer corner right here. And I'm just gonna start dabbing that in like this, sticking to that outer corner. As you can see, we are now starting to take effect. We're getting things drawn out, and we're getting that beautiful ombre effect, or that very blended effect. Now, here's where it's up to you. You can leave this just like this, or you can deepen it up even more. I think I'm gonna go in just a bit more into that brown shade. I wanna make it just a little bit darker. Almost like a C shape. I'm going do, 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 just like that, and keeping the tip of the brush and just dabbing it in. Now what you can do, and what I like to do at this step, I'm going to go back in with that original fluffy brush that I had, dip back into this shade here, which was our transition shade, pick up just a little bit of that product. I'm just going to lightly go over the outer edges of this look, just to make sure everything is blended in and I don't have any harsh lines. And everything looks beautifully blended. Now here's my favorite part. This part you can use either a finger, you can use a flat shader brush like this, you can use a flat wider shader brush like this, whatever you'd like, whatever you have, that works. I'm gonna go ahead and brighten up the actual lid. My favorite shade in this palette is this one right here. I love this shade. It's an all over lid shade. It is stunning. So I'm going to go ahead and go in with my Bdellium tools. I'm going to pick up some of that color on my brush. Now the metallic shades in this palette surprisingly are very, very pigmented. Usually a lot of times with metallic shades, I find that you really have to use a Fix Plus or some water setting spray. With these you can get a beautiful look. So I'm going to start with the inner corner and I'm going to start brushing upwards. I want to go just into my crease, but not too much. And just spread that on the lid. I'm going to stop right where I see that darker shadow. There you go. As you can see, everything looks blended. It looks ombre. It's just beautifully sheared out. Now you could stop here again, like I said, but I like a little bit more of a pop of color. So this is where I'm actually going to go in with my finger. So I'm going to go into that same shade here. Pick some up on my finger. Look how beautiful and reflective that is. This palette's one of my favorite palettes. It's so stunning. I'm just gonna go ahead and focus it into the inner corner and go outward. Beautiful. This is honestly like my go-to eye look from this palette. It is so simple and effortless, but it is just so stunning. Like, it is perfect for every day. All right, so let's go ahead and focus on the lower lash line here. I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with my flat shader brush. You don't want something too fluffy, because what can happen is you'll fluff too much product onto the lower part of your eye here, and we don't want that. We don't want the eye looking dragging down. We want it to still look lifted. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to start out with going in with that darker shade here that we used in the beginning. My brush in, just the edge of it here, starting on the outside part like this, and then working my way to the center. If you want something a little bit darker, we can do that too. So let's go ahead and try dipping into this shade here. Pick up some of that and just darken it up a bit. This brush, these Bdellium Tools brushes are fantastic. They are my favorite shadow brushes. They seriously blend things effortlessly. So now let's go ahead and highlight the inner corner and do the brow bone. I'm actually going to go in with this second shade here. So I'm going to be using a detailed pencil brush. You want something that gives you more control. So I'm going to dip into that shade. I'm going to focus right outside this tear duct here. I like to go in little circular motions and go just like that. So you can see you get a beautiful highlighted effect. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing, taking that same brush and just focusing on the brow bone. So let's go ahead and add just a little bit of a line here, some liner on the top lash line. I'm going to go in with this thin liner brush here. I'm going to dip into this very dark brown shade down here, this shade. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press very lightly just above the lash line. Now again, if you want to, you can create a wing liner with this. That's up to you, but I want to keep it very simple. I need a closer mirror for this part. This will just help make your lashes look just a bit fluffier when you go to put mascara on. I'm gonna go ahead, you guys, and pop on some mascara. Maybe I'll put on my favorite lashes. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna finish up this other eye and then I'll be right back with the finished eye look. All right, you guys, so here is the completed look. This is just my favorite neutral, easy to do, perfect for beginners, everyday makeup using the Jaclyn Hill palette. I could, look at this and I can see how some people might look at it. And to me, I think the colors are laid out beautifully, but some people might think, oh my gosh, they're so overwhelmed because there's so many color options. There's so many colors that look the same, and it can just be straight up overwhelming. I just wanted to share with you guys my favorite look, something that was beginner friendly, that I could share with you guys that you could easily follow along. It would be a beautiful everyday look. So let me go ahead and just finish up with the details. I used the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I left my waterline open here. I have almond shaped eyes and I tend to just stay away from eyeliner in general. I just feel like it shuts out my eyes. I love eyeliner and I love a wing, so you could easily add this, add that to this look. I just prefer sometimes something a little bit softer. That's why I suggested using that darker brown shade with a liner brush and just lightly sweeping that or pressing it on the upper lash line. Leave me a comment down below if you enjoyed this look. What are your favorite colors from the Jaclyn Hill palette? If you want to see more tutorials from this palette, maybe something a little bit more fun using those pops of colors. I do have a cranberry look that I create with this that is my absolute favorite. Or if you want to just see more everyday options using some more of the colors in this palette, leave me a comment down below letting me know if that's something that would interest you. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this video gave you some ideas and was helpful. I love you guys so much and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Mwah. Bye. And I just got black eyeshadow from this palette on my face. Shoot.
Hi, Crystal.
Do you guys hear that? How does Bdellium Tools brushes blend effortlessly in any way, shape, or form signal Siri? I don't know. She creeps me out. I don't really have Siri though. I have the Australian guy. I didn't know if you guys know that, but you can change the voice.